I can certainly put a masculine frame on it, because a big part of it is sitting with what is, like with what's true. And if like it's an uncomfortable truth, like if you're sitting in the circle and 7 people are reflecting that when you speak, they like start to feel numb, or and you thought you were being inspiring. It's like it can confront you in a way there's no escape. So it's that willingness to face the truth, I think, is a very masculine thing. And this, even though it's a very gentle approach, it's like it's like a silent killer almost. It's like there's no way out of it. Like the circle wisdom, you realize you're part of the circle wisdom, and in that way you go on an adventure that you're not in control of, and you enter the unknown. So it takes a lot of courage to step into. And I would challenge any man that these things, even if they're not conscious how they're impacting their life, they will be. Like it might be that, a subtle health issue, or that one person in work that you're struggling with a little bit, that you're not able to lead very well. It's like whatever the struggles are in your life, circling is like a microcosm. So it will reflect those things in more clarity and in real time, so that you can actually start to try different things out while also being witnessed in it. So there's certainly a like sit with intensity. And me and my friend, when we were practicing, we would, after a hard day's work, we would like, let's do the practice. And we were resistant to sit and look in each other's eyes and just say what actually happened when we were looking at each other. But we took that on as a bit like lifting weights, because we knew we were building muscles around presence and self-learning and how to connect with different kinds of people. So the skills that were being touched are just underneath our lives. They influence everything, whether you're, be that in a sport or in your relationship or your health, or whatever it is that matters to you. These underlying dynamics of who you actually are and how you relate to others, like that's the ground of our life. For men doing this practice, I can think of, one of the exciting things about this practice is you never quite know what's going to come up for you. So you kind of end up getting what you need, maybe more than what you want. And that can be quite an exciting thing for men. Like you're going to enter the unknown, like you're going to go into an uncertain situation. So your instincts are going to be called upon. And in a way, it can be like a hero's journey entering a circle, because you're taken out of your normal comfort zone and you're in this other world, and a lot's going to be happening. But typically a lot of men are cut off from their feelings, and circling is a great way to start to access your feelings again. Like for me, I think I'd learnt to cry by then, although that was still useful, but it was actually, anger was quite repressed in me. I just thought I wasn't an angry person. And as the anger started to come up, and then I would realize I was keeping it down. And then my friend actually got angry with me because he wanted my anger. And when my anger came out, it actually had a ton of clarity about him, and he was grateful for it. So there's all these ranges of feelings that have been tapped down. And also for me, my sexuality, there was a lot of shame around my attraction. And so I went through a whole process of learning to be okay with my attraction and enjoy it and sharing it. And that like supercharged my relationships with women, and it like got my life energy flowing. So I had more energy and enjoyment in life. But the other thing I think for men is about purpose, and what are they here to do, and what really matters. And that's where circling it in this gentle way will confront you to show up with like, what is of most importance to you, what most matters. And often we've got a lot of like, we've inherited a lot of conditionings or like habits of fitting in with mum and dad, and these start to get shown up in like razor focus. So you start to see like, oh, I've been living in this bubble, and actually I've always had this desire to do this, but because I'm used to taking care of people and don't want to rock the boat too much, I've never done this. And now it's like, fuck this, I'm doing that now. Like this is my life. And so that you can get a strong sense of direction about what matters for you. And I think in relation, I think men suffer a lot in relation to their relationships with women, and it can give a lot of keys in terms of like how it can be more enjoyable and like help you to see under the surface of some of the arguments, or like what's really going on, and how you could step up in your relationships to get more of what you want. I mean, I cringe when I look back as to how I was showing up in relationships, and the patterns that I had that were just completely unconscious to me, that just kept things limited in a particular way. And that's this whole thing. You don't realize, you don't even know that you're in this kind of bubble. And that's what I see time and time again, is everyone's in their own bubble. And when we come together in the circle and do these practices, it's like we start to see outside of that bubble, because we start seeing everyone else's bubble clearly, but it's harder to see our own. And when we get this real feedback, like people are being honest, they're not like assessing you, but they're just giving you this in the moment feedback, like, oh, I get really inspired when you say this. And then you get in touch with like, oh yeah, that is really important to me. So it's this like unarguable kind of feedback that's coming your way that's very stimulating. And then you start to see outside of your bubble, which sets off a whole new path after that, because we strive for freedom and we love, like, so it's amazing in that respect. But also it's like the bird that's been in a cage suddenly flies out the cage, and then it like can go anywhere. It's like, I know that tendency of like, oh God, it was easier when I was caged, because now like ignorance isn't bliss anymore. And so that's where the hero's journey is, this archetypal myth that shows up in every culture. So research has shown that every culture around the world has this metaphor of the hero, which is actually a metaphor for inner growth. So it's like the hero has to face the dragon, which is like inner fears, to get to the treasure, which is our growth. And then we can bring that back to our community. So the hero's quest, we use that a lot to frame what we're doing when we come together in circling, because it is this entering of the unknown together, which is vulnerable, but it's so rich. There's all these treasures as we go, but there's also these sharks and like dark forests that we have to go into, which is like a metaphor for the unconscious. And we enter that, and could be witches in there, and like who knows what we have to encounter. And it really is like that when we dare to face beyond our bubble and what's lurking under the surface. And what I like about circling is how powerfully it brings those things up, but in a way where it's not like, right, we need to do this, and you need to cry now, and you need to hit a pillow with anger, which is a beautiful thing for people at the right stage for them. But especially for people who, a lot of people appreciate just having things come at their pace, like it's from the inside out. So they get to really walk their own path with this reflection from others, because it's always reflecting our sovereignty, is a good word for it, like our agency, our adult responsibility that we can take. And not that we're not always able to show up like that. And again, that's what gets mirrored in the circle, like when we're acting out or where we're beating ourselves up. And through having those things mirrored, we get to show up as fuller people who are able to inspire more and take a better, it's like live from a higher calling, you could say, or just live a better life, like live a more aligned, purposeful life where you're less reactive to others and where you're in your own power.